Welcome home, brave heroes. I'm Ash, this is HeroQuest, and it's time, yet again, once more, for another 7 things at Dungeon Tree Will They HeroQuest. Will they? Do we? Let's find out. The first thing I wanted to bring to your attention is cubes. Wooden cubes. These are in the crafting section, obviously, and I found out today, after some experimentation, that they are actually hollow. Now, of course, being that they are a Dollar Tree product, they're $1.25 USD per cube, but they take pencil graphite very well. You can even see this remnant of a door where I kind of spent just a few seconds trying to erase it, so they will actually erase fairly well as well. You can say that these blocks are tiny rooms and you can place them all around your dungeon. Perhaps they are just little breaks where your heroes can be safe without having to use the giant safe room tile. We have the ability to make them into jail cells. We can make them password rooms. We can do whatever we like. We can place them at the edge of the board where they won't take up hardly any space. We can place them in rooms where they will serve as jail cells. We could even illustrate our own rudimentary goblins hiding behind bars, being very angry about it. And this I'm not even going to attempt to make this a very detailed drawing, but you get the idea. You get what I'm going for here. Sadly, that's the disclaimer with a lot of these 7 things videos. I'm just kind of half-arsing it and saying, you get what I'm trying to do here. But you get it, right? Another thing that I think you could do with these is you can make them sort of be access points from point A to point B and give the board some 3D dimensionality, which all of the other examples are doing as well. But if we go ahead and, for example, illustrate that there is a ladder on one side, we can make our own grid tiles on top. And however a hero gets to this point, I actually put that ladder in the center. I should have put it off to one side. So if we just kind of pretend that the ladder was over here the entire time and we place that down, the hero who is adjacent to this block, I had to open the door for the hero to get into the room, don't worry about it, will be able to climb the ladder. And they can either be in a section of the dungeon that is sort of like a ventilation system level where it's all its own thing, a completely new floor on which they can see other floor pieces in the dungeon that are also elevated, or they can see down because it's an open area and they can see into all of the other rooms because they're so elevated. You'll have to make the rules for yourself and you'll have to see if it works to do something consistent or change it up quest after quest. You can even make this double tall, twice as tall using this asset. And the ladder just continues to go up. Perhaps the hero can't climb the ladder all on one turn, or perhaps they may have to make a strength check to do it because, climbing something of this height is going to be an incredible feat. But once they're up there, they can see everything around them. This would be especially useful for certain quests that feature dragons flying in the distance, and the heroes have to use ranged weaponry to shoot them down. I can think of a lot of uses for these blocks. My mind doesn't really settle on one or nail down how to refine any one particular use, but perhaps you can think of other things to do with them, what with them being hollow and all. I just use a 1/7 of an inch spade drill bit to chop right through that. I could use a bigger one and I'd be able to put the hero directly into it. For now, they can go directly into it, but they're kind of hidden. Look, it's the cardboard box hero. You don't see me. Enough about those. Let's move on to the next one. Gemstone Stickers. I forgot to tell you that these blocks are actually a little bit bigger than 2 inches by 2 inches by 2 inches. They'll encroach onto other spaces around them, but that is an important point to make. Their size is actually 2 1/4 cubed. So just a little bit of a rewind, and now back to a fast forwarding. The Gemstone Stickers are kind of a variation on something I've looked at in the past. If we open these up, we've got a sheet of, you guessed it, stickers. Now, since these are stickers, we could bling out whatever we wanted. We could easily stick them. Look, they come off in strips. That is actually really nice. That's pretty convenient, actually. I like that. They are very sticky, but go ahead and get them onto something before they lose their stickiness. They'll stick pretty well to the HeroQuest furniture. So our Ogre Lord has a lucky gem that he keeps at his side at all times now. No, you don't peel these off of the strips. You actually pull them apart. They keep the part of the strip. That's the actual adhesive. But yeah, since they fit pretty decently onto the plastic of HeroQuest models. Whoops. And to neoprene mats, evidently. Look, now this character is carrying around a gem, or it's implied that they're just standing over the gem and it happens to move with them whenever they move. Perhaps you get this gem as a reward for defeating the enemy. Perhaps you can use these as status symbols. My warlock with one of these jewels stuck to her base means that she will be strong against lightning energy. Lightning attacks will have less of an effect on my warlock. And since I have two other colors, well, I can do the same thing with ice and with fire. And we know we use a lot of fire in the game system for HeroQuest, and particularly also in the first two expansions. With the blue ones, we can definitely get an advantage against the frozen horror spells. But if you don't want to use them for any of that stuff, you could easily take these and stick them to themselves and hand them out to players who have a sizable amount of gold, because it's really fun to have. A really easy way to do this, though, would be to take these strips and go ahead and fold them onto themselves immediately before you start separating anything. And now we have 5 jewels that don't stick to anything. They're all in a string, and they're really easy to take apart and distribute to the players. Perhaps each one of these could represent 100 gold. A lot of you heroes will prefer sticking to writing your winnings down on your character sheets, but you can also have these in the dungeon, just scattered around, and whenever your hero walks over a tile, they will collect the gold. You can have it to where they walk over the tile instead of stop on the tile. I think it would be really fun to open a pack of these up. Say the yellow represents maybe like 1 or 2 gold coins, the blue represents maybe 10, maybe 20, and the red could represent 50, or you could assign whatever values to the different colors you wanted. Oh crap, we end up with an odd man out when we do it this way, but that's okay. Then you just go ahead and you take a handful of each of the colors before you even start laying stuff down on the quest board at the very beginning, when there's just nothing anywhere on the quest board at all. And you take them and you just toss them like you would dice. You just say, okay, there's bonus money in this quest, and it'll be there. I wouldn't put it there. I would probably try to sprinkle it in different places. I'd be like, here we go. And I don't have any furniture laid down yet. I don't have any indication to the players what rooms are actually even accessible. They don't know. And, I might not either if I haven't looked at the quest guides, the quest notes close enough. But I know that it's going to have gold in it. And those heroes who are valiant enough to search, or greedy enough, I guess, to search in that direction where there are more gold pieces, more jewelry, more gems laying around in the hallways and stuff, well, they might actually advance through the quest quicker, or they might become a huge hindrance to the other party members because they're going the wrong way, or they're going into more dangerous territory, or they're breaking off on their own. Anyway, doesn't that look like a rewarding pile of treasure for our intrepid heroes, kind of sticking to each other now? But never mind that. Let's move on to the next thing. We weren't talking about coins in the last episode. We were talking about coins in this episode, and it hasn't happened yet, but this is called confetti. And really, we can use this for coins about the same way. You can hand these coins, which are very flat, by the way. They're basically just very thin plastic, but they come in 2 colors, gold and silver. So you can say the silver is 100, the gold's 500, or whatever you'd like to do. One's 10, one's 20, that sort of thing. And you can hand these out. They're very slippery. Now that they've come out of the bag, I'll never be able to get them back in the bag again. I'll probably find these on my floor years from now. And you could do, just like I said with the previous one, you could take a handful of these and toss them onto the board. Maybe not like that. Maybe a more heroic toss. There we go. And now we have different coins that we could assign to these tiles. Oh God, they're also kind of staticky as well. So they'll just kind of go wherever the static takes them. I don't know if these will take paint or ink or anything like that very well. Perhaps you could etch a design onto them. It wouldn't be my favorite thing to use for currency. They're pretty oversized, but I don't know. Maybe they could make one of your heroes feel richer just by having them. I'm already regretting this decision. This gold and silver will now be a permanent part of the backdrop for this video. But never mind that. Thing number 1, 2, 3, 4. Much the same thing. These are beads / pearls. These can be strung onto things because they have holes in them, but there's 250 pieces here, and there are 5 colors, so we get 50 of each of these. What I would use these for is gems, of course, obviously, and I would just assign a denomination to each one as a value, just like with the gold coins or with the small sticker gems, which so far are my favorite out of all the things I've tried. But these won't stick to anything. These are more for holding in your hand, throwing in a sort of physical tiny compartment that represents the treasury of your party or for your character. They would roll a lot easier across the board to fall in different tiles. If you wanted to use the pre-random treasure tile treasure throw method as outlined earlier, and you could just ignore the fact that they have holes. They're really fun to look at. They're very gem shaped. Some of them have flash because it's just cheap plastic that wasn't really refined or processed before it was placed into these bags. You'll even find bits of sprue sometimes. I could see here in the bag, there's the bead sprue with which it was molded, but that's okay. I don't have any problems with that. And we could find a container to throw these into that would keep them nice and separate. You could also make these elemental stones that have nothing to do with the game's currency. The more of these that you hang on to, the more of a resistance that you might have to certain kinds of attacks, or the more green that you have, the stronger you are against green skins, or the more immune you are to poisons. Elements that haven't necessarily been introduced in HeroQuest, at least not officially, at least not yet. But enough about that. The next thing is Classic Games 3-in-1 game board, Plateau de Hill 3-in-1. I don't know how to speak French. Let's open this up. This is $1.25, and before you laugh at me for this one, I actually was a bit serious when I picked this one up. You see, backgammon board, I don't really care about. The chess and checkers board, I don't really care about. It's nice to have this stuff sometimes because you just want to play a good game of checkers or chess. But honestly, the checker pieces, I'm not sure if you could use anything with these to kind of make them worth your homebrew time. They're really just red and black flat discs with a crown piece on one side. Perhaps they indicate that you are collecting something as you are going through the dungeon, and you need 2 black keys and 2 red keys, and every time you find one, you'll flip one of these over to show off its king piece side. There are other ways to do this, probably better ways to do this, but I didn't buy this for the checker pieces. I got this for the chess pieces. And since it's also backgammon, it came with 2 d6, and you can never have enough d6, in my opinion. So the chess game, oddly enough, this doesn't come with any instructions on how to play chess. I thought there'd at least be some kind of tutorial. And yes, I'm quite well aware I could just find instructions online, but that doesn't matter. What does matter is that there's so much in HeroQuest that could be used as a chessboard. So many rooms could be viable chessboards. And when your heroes enter a puzzle room, such as this one, they need to checkmate the king piece. That's a queen. The king piece. And they can do so by fighting through all of the pawns. Now, let's say, for example, the door is right here. And this is something that I've had in mind for a little while, at least. And your hero enters. Now, when your hero enters, this is a knight. I wonder, could we transmutate him? I'm trying to get rid of the glare on the edges of the video by moving the coins. It's just really not working. This is a horrible mess. I wonder, do we transmutate this knight into a knight chess piece? That would be clever, right? It's not really necessary. We have a lot of different classes in HeroQuest, not classes per named so in the game, but that's what they are. But, you know, any hero could become a knight coming into this room. And you could even have other heroes come into the room and transform into different characters as well, like a bishop or perhaps a rook for the barbarian, bishop for the wizard, for the warlock, pawn for the dwarf because he's stumpy. But after you enter, now you have to play chess rules to try to take out all of these pieces. And it's just a limited amount of pieces. It's not some grand big chess puzzle. And if your players aren't too familiar with chess, maybe you don't have such a serious loadout. Maybe you do something like this. And in this case, it should be pretty easy to checkmate the king. So you'll have your knight move and you'll have your barbarian move. And now it'll be Zargon's turn and he'll move. And this sort of could play on and be pretty easy to accomplish even if you do kind of overload the Zargon side, because all of your heroes that enter this room will become pieces and they can all have their own turn. So it's almost like a white versus black chess game, but the white gets 4 turns to Zargon's 1. So obviously that's going to be very advantageous for the white side. But I've always thought picking up a really cheap chess set with these simple but very effective chess sculpts would be really cool for a game of HeroQuest. And I don't know, there's something about the very simple style and aesthetic of the chess pieces. I think it would merge well with any HeroQuest game. And like I said, the 2d6, which you would use for backgammon, you can use for whatever you'd like as well. You can never have enough of these guys sitting around. But enough about that. Unfortunately, it's time to make my table even messier and show you the next thing. And that's stickers. And I'll be really glad to get rid of these after I've unboxed them because they've been sitting around for far too long. These stickers, or autocollants as they are in French, are 35 pieces, 21 pieces, 24 pieces. There's a lot of different configurations of these, but I got these because they're square and they look like tiles. And they are tile border gems. Tile border gems, tile border gems type. This, here, they open at the bottom, Ash, can be used to make tiles on your board. Custom tiles. Why would you want to use these? Well, they look pretty cool. They actually feel really cool. They're described as puffy, but they're not puffy stickers. These are actually pretty tough. They're pretty durable little tiles. But we could peel these off, and because they are very, very sticky, we'll actually take two of them and we'll stick them to each other. So we have a double-sided tile, just as you would have in a game of HeroQuest. Coloration's really cool, but this can represent something. I don't know what yet. And actually, it's quite a bit raised. It's quite a bit raised. It's a bit odd looking on the board because of how raised it is. So maybe sticking one to another wasn't a bright idea. Maybe we can just sort of disregard the stickiness of a given tile. So once you put it down, yeah, that works out fine. Having one tile on the board that's that big works out fine. The problem is that it's now sticking to the board, and we don't necessarily want to do that. So you could put a piece of paper on this or something, or else just try to, make it unsticky before you set it down and before it has a chance to damage anything permanently. But it's following a 1-inch grid standard. It works out well for the contemporary board, and your heroes and monsters will stand on them just fine. They won't be wavering. They won't fall off. I would use these to kind of create a sort of landscape of outdoor, something that is indicative of a cave. Putting these all over my beautiful new broadsword dungeon mat from Ian Schofield's beautiful dungeon mats. And the really obvious use for these is that they can be walls. So now the double-sided one doesn't not make sense anymore. You can use this as a wall, replace your wall tokens with something a little more flavorful. These look a bit like they're from the 40K universe or Age of Sigmar or something. They're very nurgled. Yeah, and then all of these tiles come up. They didn't damage anything. They only have a light stickiness to them. They're fine. You use these at your own risk, though. Yours might be stickier than mine, and I don't want to be held liable for anything that is too sticky, sticking to your non-sticky desirables. I don't know how to word that right now. Just ignore it. Here we go. I've got some brand new tiles. Brand new rock tiles. Need a double-sided tile? You've got that. Just put two of them together. These rock walls are a great way to route the characters through corridors. And that's not all. We have an entirely different color scheme. We have all of this metal. And in opening these up, we find that we actually have, oh, that's clear. That's actually clear. Why? Why does that exist? I guess to give us options whenever we make our collage of stickers, our mosaic tile for whatever it is these are supposed to go on. But you could take this 4x4, I don't know why I said that's 2x2, and lay it down. It actually fits within the tiles here. It doesn't encroach beyond them. It doesn't even lead right up to the edge. So you can put things like doors along the edges, not have to worry about tile encroachment. Now we have a trap that is 2x2, and the heroes are going to have to jump over this quicksand pit or whatever this is. Again, you can make these double-sided tiles by just taking two 2x2 tiles, or one 2x2 and a 1x2 and two 1x1s, or whatever configuration that works out mathematically, and sticking them to each other. And now you have a brand new tile, the use of which only you know, only you can decide. And look at this. We're putting that in our ogre door. It's actually a little bit bigger than the ogre door, which is a darn shame. I would love to be able to put different things in the ogre door. But if you don't mind that slight sort of bending outwards, you could put this down, and now we've got like a spider's webbing sort of barricade that the heroes have to attack and slice through. And now your wizard can actually get through this as well, because it's just spider webbing. But if you lose the attack roll to cut through it, you can get caught in the web and you could be stuck for a certain amount of turns. And who knows, maybe something of a spider-like nature would be alerted to your presence. The other side kind of looks like a warp of some kind, a weird portal. It also looks like it could just be really thick petrified wood that you've got to burn through. I like the idea of getting these so much, but I had no idea how I was going to use them until I broke them open at this moment. And now it just all seems clear to me. But the 2x tiles can also be used for barricades on multiple tiles instead of the just one. So let me know how you might use tiles like this. I had one more sheet of them. These are a bit more fancy. They're a little bit more contemporary. This is definitely some snooty high elf architecture. And with that, that's enough of that. Let's move on to the next thing. Tiles, gems, coins, wood, chess, more gems. The last thing, dominoes. That's right, dominoes. This is Double 9 Dominoes, a set from classic games. It's 55 pieces. And these little wooden dominoes actually do come with instructions. Bravo, classic games are perfect for laying down and not knowing what the results of a movement test will be until you flip one of them over. Why are we using dominoes, Ash, in HeroQuest? Well, first of all, I really love how these feel. They come in this lovely little case, which to you might actually be worth the $1.25 USD on its own, even if you discard all of the dominoes. But on each domino is essentially a combination of numbers. And I don't know how to play Double 9 dominoes, but I do know that the dominoes come in all of these different combinations of numbers from 00 to 99. So you basically have on the face of a single domino the results of 2 D10s that go from 0 to 9. And you can use this in some way. Look, they have a really cool dragon motif on the back. It's hard to see until you flip the tile the right way, but that's it. So you could use this for really risky movement through the dungeons. You can give a hero an ability or a special equipment pair of boots that allows them to move quickly or perhaps not so quickly through the dungeon, and they could draw from a bag of dominoes. And there's a chance they could draw, this one, which grants them a movement of 2 because the magic is just currently in its unlucky state and they can't move very fast. The boots that they're wearing feels like they're holding them back, weighing them down. They feel like they weigh 100 kg or lb in freedom units. I like to imagine the HeroQuest is not in freedom units though. Or they could pull out a tile and be able to move 18 spaces. And there's just tons of these tiles that could offer you higher rolls. There are a few that could offer you lower, more realistic 2d6 rolls, though. This couldn't just be for speed, though. You could use these for certain encounters that require combat on a more mental level. So you could have Zargon pull out as many of these dominoes as an enemy has mind points, let's say 3, and then the wizard player who is challenging this particular enemy will pull out as many dominoes as they have mind points, let's say 6. And then Zargon will look at and then choose one of the tiles to place in front of them. The wizard will look at and choose a tile to place down in front, and they'll flip. And the winner, the one who scores higher, will take one of the BP away from the target. This means a wizard battle to the death, because your really smart wizard-like characters are going to have more mind points than body points. But this could be used sort of as a system of bluffing as well. Zargon could grin evilly as he places his tile down, and then the wizard will know they have to select something that's really big in their inventory, one of the dominoes that represents their mind points, in order to beat this supposed large number. And then when they flip the tiles, it's actually a really small number. Now Zargon's only going to lose 1 body point off their mage character. We'll pretend it's not this weak goblin who only has 1 body point. But both of these tiles are now out of the game, something I probably could have mentioned a lot sooner. And then the wizard has to play more carefully. This particular enemy, I gave 2 mind points, which is pretty small, and they're going to lose this battle no matter what. But it's an opportunity for a magical player to take body points away from a wizard and make some sort of semblance of mind points combat heavier, more weighty. There are a lot of ways you could use these dominoes. The only complaint that I would have is getting them back in the box. You'd have to be really meticulous about stacking them and getting them nice and straight when you put them back in. Not really a complaint. It just takes a few seconds. I'm going to now get started on cleaning up my desk, and it's going to take a while. So it'll be quite a bit before the next 7 things episode, but rest assured, I've already got a couple of things for that particular episode. If you enjoy these episodes, please let me know in the comments below, because I really enjoy doing them. I hope that they give a lot of people inspiration. And so far, the most rewarding comment that I've received on them is that somebody just laughs every time I pull something out, thinking, what kind of nonsense is this? But then I get them thinking the more that I explain different use cases that some of these supposedly nonsensical, worthless articles have. That's what I like. That's what this channel is about. It is about inspiring. It is about getting you thinking about how to create something that subverts expectations, because you already have the tools. You already have the imagination. You just have to unlock it. And I welcome all of your suggestions on what we can do with this stuff as well. Not only will I be able to use the suggestions, but they'll inspire me for future videos whenever I try to pull out new use cases for other things that I find. And it will help other people who may already have this stuff sitting somewhere and they'd like to use it for HeroQuest in some way or another. Thank you so much for watching, brave heroes. I hope to see you in the next one. And until then, have a fantastic rest of your day, and bye for now. Onward.